What's going on in your world then, pal? So look, Catflap chats. We've got Ryan Jones with us today. I'm delighted. We like for people who are listening, we don't actually know each other. Got a couple of mutual friends. I've been really excited about this one. I was just looking through some of the stuff you've done previously. Obviously, rugby. People know what you've done there. Your 75 caps and Lions tours and 3 Grand Slams, captain. And then off the field as well. A lot of, I suppose, what I like to talk about is, yes, that rugby journey, but then that transition out of rugby, because I think lots of people find that hard. And, that mental toughness you need, which, you learn all these skills and lots are transferable, but that mental toughness you need to then go and forge a career outside of what you know across the white line. So, yeah, really excited for where today might go and all the charity work you've just done. But before all that, tell us what you've been up to. How's things been? You've just finished a mental charity event in November. So how's things in your world?
Oh, crikey, I think much the same as everyone else, really. I'm a bit sort of all over the place. It's been a monumental year, I think is the way of describing it, on a personal level, a professional level, and sort of everything in between. So it's been a sort of year of discovery. Just in my intro there, you did leave something out which I'm most proud of, and that is I did win Wales' sexiest man once as well. I don't like to talk about that, so I'm not going to discuss that today.
What year was that?
Oh crikey, that was early 2000s, and there's no coincidence that my nan's phone bill was significantly.
Is that when you were rocking the long locks as well, was it?
It was, yeah, and just to put in context though, Wyn Evans off the Go Compare advert, I think was 5th that year. So
hey, he's a handsome man. He's a handsome man. He is.
Certain populations, we're both handsome. We're all handsome men to some, aren't we? So,
in our own way.
No, it's been it's been an interesting year. There's been it was only the other day actually reflecting with some mates, and there's a few things that have stood out, and the first one being I've parted companies with the WRU, so going on to some new things that way, which is all exciting to see where that might go. But then very much on a personal level, like when it's all said and done, I've had a wonderful rugby career, right? And I sort of achieved far more than I ever thought I would. I've just the story I tell people is I was just a fat kid from Newport who tried really hard. And, I was never the most talented, but I was really competitive, and I worked pretty hard. But the only, like I said, you only have a footnote in the story. I'm very fortunate the generation I played in. I still think I played with some of the best players Wales has ever seen, let alone of recent times, and we largely had unprecedented success, which is so certainly like nothing we'd seen since the 70s, and to play the small part in that was just incredible. And but like I said, I'm 5 years retired now, and it's almost like it happened to someone else. I watch the games now as a fan, and it doesn't look like the game that I played. And it seems far removed. They really are distant memories. And but what I take most pleasure in now is sort of using what little profile I've got left, and to sort of inspire and try and do good things. I think rugby was sort of amazing to me, and the role I had within it. As being captain, and I was very fortunate. Quite 75 caps I had, and a long time in the Ospreys sort of nest, as it were. Spent an awful, people really supportive of me in that time as well, and it's been really amazing to give back to the community, not just this year but in recent years as well. And so I take pleasure from that, because all said and done, I was very fortunate I achieved all that and did all that. But essentially now I'm just a 40-year-old fat dad of 3, who's very average at most things. But again, all I brought with me is I try really hard still.
Hey, look, you've got a smile on your face, mate. So you must be doing something right in life.
Yeah, again, we were having a bit of a chat before, off air, as it were, in this business, and talking around that probably the one upside of 2020 is it's cut away all the nonsense. I think it's taken away the having to say no. You realise how much in life you were saying yes to that you didn't actually enjoy, and I think it's brought back sort of some of the simplicity of life, if you like. And to a certain extent, long may that continue, you know. But I wear, like many of us do, I wear sort of many hats and many faces, you know, and
Yeah.
I have good days and bad days. And, you know, I've become quite an advocate for particularly men's mental health recently. I think,
Yeah.
I've walked in arguably some of the most macho shoes you can, which is
Yeah.
that wearing that famous red jersey of ours and everything in an era where, you know, it probably wasn't quite like it is now. And actually, you cut through all the nonsense, and you know, you certainly as you approach middle age, you know, you do start to reflect on things differently. I can't undo what I did and the way I thought and the things I said, but you certainly make amends going forward and try and be the man that that I want to be. And that comes with its struggles, because going out of that one environment to another didn't prepare me for the world that I now live in and function in. You know, that's the reality of
Yeah.
it.
It's tough. I want to touch on a few different points you spoke about there, because I think lots of people, I completely resonate with that in some of what you said there around, you know, mental health and the struggles. Different days bring different challenges, and it's how you deal with them. But how do you deal with, you know, if you've got down days now and things are happening? How do you deal with stuff like that now compared to how you might have when you were fresh faced, you know, mid 20 something?
Yeah, look, the pro sport world's an interesting one, you know, and it's again when you're living and breathing it, and you're caught up in it's a whirlwind. I can't describe it as anything else, you know. And sport introduced me to a world that I never would have known existed. You know, I've
Yeah.
travelled the world and I've seen and done things that, you know, my upbringing and education probably wouldn't have afforded me the luxury to do. All with someone else paying, I suppose. And
Yeah.
you know, the cruelest bit of sport is, you know, that bit gets taken away, you know, and you're left with not necessarily knowing better, because I've come to realise that a load of it is just nonsense, you know, and
Yeah.
quite insincere. But you know differently, you know, and if there's something, sometimes there's a luxury to
Yeah.
naivety in not knowing better, I suppose.
Yeah, of course.
But also, I lived in a world that was, you know, an awful lot of what was catered for us, you know, that we didn't have to think. You're institutionalized, if you like. We're told where to be, what to wear, what to eat, what time, how to behave, you know, and nothing in my career prepared me for major milestones within it. So that could be everything from being that kid at UWIC who then went on to play on the national stage, through to dealing with the world's media, through dealing with royalty, through to, you know, speaking to the press, the public,
Yeah.
the expectations that go with that, right through the transition out. You know, I was probably, you know, my cohort, if you like, was the first of a generation that didn't really know anything before rugby. You know,
Yeah.
or probably, I would say, slightly more removed from the communities than possibly prior. And again, at 35 years of age, you know, you end up having a conversation with a consultant who tells you your career is over this time, you know,
Yeah.
and you sort of wonder what's next. On the back of that, you know, it also gave me a wonderful set of skills to bring into my new world as well. So it's not all sort
Yeah.
of, it was a bit of a quid pro quo really, but you know, I'm definitely driven with, or wired differently, I would say, to the majority of people I come across things that amaze me are, I'd say, modern society is driven by a fear of failure rather than
Yeah.
striving for success.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, there's a comfort and conformity to business, to life, to communities, you know, which sort of sport challenges, you know, sports, top end sport. And I'm not necessarily talking about rugby. I've been very fortunate to be involved in other sports as well and experience other cultures and environments. And, you know, that the dynamic end of industry and sport is about challenging, you know,
Yeah.
and it's around trying new, it's around striving for better. It's looking for that competitive edge, is a well-coined term. It's nonsense, really, just looking. You know, so, and it's that, and you know, within that as well, my physical ability to do what I did died. You know, that
Yeah.
left me probably long before the consultant told me at 35, actually. But you know, there is this inherent part of you, an animal inside that doesn't wane, that doesn't die. You know, and
Yeah.
its appetite maybe gets slightly less, but you know, that's what enables me now to go on and do the other stuff I do. You know, and I get great pleasure from showing people that you can, whatever that may be, that we're all capable of so much more is what, the story that I tell people. It's just, we very rarely go there in any aspect of life, do we? We're worried about the negative consequence of things rather than actually doing something and having a wonderful story to tell, and I sort of tell people, we are if you like, a culture and society and a people of storytellers. That's what we've been doing for millions of years. Everything we do in life, and all we do now is we want to go to the coffee shop and pub and tell a story, don't we? We want to tell a better story.
Exactly.
So
with your mates.
Go and write your own stories, Don't tell someone else's. Go and do stuff and create your own memories and create your own stories,
Yeah. I completely agree, mate. I mean, I suppose, again, this year gives you that time to reflect both on what you've done, but what's coming next as well. So, just saying off pod then, for me, what's next in my journey, career-wise or whatever that might be. And I suppose I've never been in that professional environment, but I happen to know a couple of people that have and a couple of people who have finished now. And I think, luckily for some of them, that they had businesses to go into that they had created or had lined up. But then for a few others to have that taken away from you, like you said, consultant says your shoulders, brown bread, can't do it anymore. Well, it's all I've known for 15, 20 years. Like, if you don't have that, support network around you or those building blocks of something different where you can take your expertise and skills into that with the guidance and help of a couple of mentors or whoever it might be, that's probably, I would imagine, a bit of a lonely place and a bit of a void that you try and fill. And, I'll let you talk about how you're filling that in terms of your charity challenges and your other work and your work with the WRU. But for some people, that void, they struggle to fill it. And, other sports, football and stuff, you see huge rates of depression, bankruptcy, divorce, whatever, drug use, whatever it might be, after they stop playing. So it's definitely something that we need to realise happens every day and talk about more.
Yeah, well, crikey, there's lots in there, and I think you're spot on with a lot of it. I don't necessarily think it's limited to sport. I've seen it with friends I've had who've had other, I'd say, high octane jobs, or high, and I do think it coincides with a sort of societal thing around men and the age and the ability to have the real conversation, to ask for help, to sort of, society dictates that careers are meant to be supposed to be linear and all this type of stuff, and you're supposed to, when someone asks you what you're up to, you're supposed to know what's next and all this, and I'm sort of going through that now. I don't know what I'm going to do next, and I don't know when it's going to come, and I'm definitely trying to stay positive, and you have sort of good days and bad days with it. Again, I sort of wear different hats and different masks, and I've probably had almost like a loss of identity was something, people have heard sports people talk a lot about it around, I never really know whether people want me for who I am or what I was, and which Ryan actually they want to have a discussion with. Is it the one that was wearing that hat, that one or that one, and that becomes difficult because, there's an authenticity to me, and you want to make sure, I'm now driven by conversations that feed me, not just, not all of me, and it's, and as a result, now I spend my time sort of pushing my own boundaries, and I don't compete with anyone anymore because I've done all my competing, and I don't really feel like I got anything to prove, but I like to set myself the challenge, so that, this year I've did a marathon in my garden, which was 732. I like to say at this point, I haven't got a garden like Shane Williams, so I can't just do one lap. I've got a garden that I do 730 shuttles of. So I did that. I did 100 miles on a treadmill in the kitchen, because, well, I don't know why, just because I fancied it. And someone mentioned running 100 miles was really tough. I did 100 miles on a watt bike in the garage. And then November, I ran 465 mile in a month. So I did the sort of the accumulated.
So that November one, I mean, like I said, we didn't know each other before this, but I remember you doing the April one in the marathon. It was covered well by the news, and obviously you raised a load of money for charity, which is superb. But the November one, then I took a bit of an active interest not in doing it because I don't run. I could probably cycle a mile a day and build it up. But so let me get this right. 1st of November, you ran 1 mile.
Well, can I just stop you? I want to correct you a minute. I started on 28th of October, right? And
okay.
People ask me, why did I do that?
Yeah.
I did it because no great adventure finishes on a Monday. So November 4th, so I wanted to finish on a Saturday and have a few pints. So I brought it for 2 days. But technically, you're right. So day 1 is run 1 mile. Day 2 is run 2 miles. Day 3 is 3, right up to 30. So it accumulates to 465 miles in a month. Now, I'm not a runner, and I think if you are a runner, you probably acknowledge that sort of the last week itself is a 200-mile week, which is a significant,
unbelievable.
So, and I did it for sort of 3 reasons really. One is and not in no particular order. One is a selfish one for me. I'm sort of, as Ross Edgley would say, naive enough to think of these things and stupid enough and stubborn enough to finish them, So, and for me, it's around taking myself away at my comfort zone, because I've learned really quickly that that's when I'm probably at my best and my most authentic self. And I love running and feeling the wind on my face. I love running on my own. I love running with people. I loved running in places I'd never run before. And I loved the escape of it for me. So it gave me, I'm not working at the moment, so it gave me a bit of a purpose for November, and I love that. The second bit was around, I like to inspire and show, if you like. Now, lots of people say, well, how on earth does that inspire? Because I can't run 465 miles or whatever. The reality when I do these things is I get inundated with people who are saying, Christ, you've just made me get off the settee and sign up for a couch to 5K. I'm going to do a kilometre version of what you're doing. I'm going to do 5K a day for 30 days. I haven't run. I've joined the gym. Oh my God, I love what you're doing. It's like keeping it real. Around, like at mince pies throughout.
I love the captions. Each day you totaled up number of miles ran, number of coffees had, number of cakes, mince pies, people you ran with. I loved seeing that each day.
Yeah, because it was about the journey. It wasn't. I wasn't trying to run it as fast as I can. I wasn't trying to beat anything. I ran for cake, and sometimes I'd run and I'd stop and I'd have a flat white, and sometimes I'd run with my kids or someone else's kids, or I'd run with someone who just wanted to run a couple of K and have a chat. And I met loads of people, and I had a wonderful experience. And so that was one of the reasons. And the other one then was around, like I said before, I've become quite passionate, quite an advocate for sort of that men's mental health. Particularly this year, there's an element of loneliness. The part of communities at the moment, and that isolation and everything that goes with it. And I felt it particularly as a man of my age. All my norm has changed, all my escape, if you like, has been taken away. So I wanted to raise money because I've got a concept called the chatty bench, which isn't necessarily new. There's a lady who did it in Cardiff quite recently, but I wanted to because I think raising profile and trying to go off the stigma and start the conversation is great. My personality lends itself to, right, that's great, but what can I do? What can I impact positively on one person's life? What could it be? And I want to try and establish a set of what I call chatty benches, so that are easily recognizable. So whether you're 15 years of age or 50 years of age or 85 years of age, if someone sees you on that bench on your own, they just take the time just to stop and say hello. And it's not the "Are you okay?" It's they always ask twice. It's taking the time. My commitment is that when I do start them, if no matter how much of a rush I'm in, what I'm up to, if I see someone sat on one of the benches, I'm going to make the effort. Because I got really touched one day by, I was down with my 3 children having some chips on the front I live on the front in Mumbles, and there was a gentleman there benched down eating chips, and all he wanted to do was talk to me and the kids. And I was talking to him, and he said he hadn't spoken to anyone for 5 weeks, and he wasn't much older than me, and and all that. And it really sort of touched a nerve. And I want to try and create a safe space, because there's lots of amazing stuff going on and lots of charities, and I'm working with some a lot of charities in this space, try and bring it all together. So, I wanted to raise some money for that. It looks like I'm probably going to raise somewhere in the region of 6,500, 7,000 to start establishing in the new year. So they were my three whys, if you like.
Yeah, I love that. I love the premise behind it, and I'd heard about the chatty bench. We've got a mutual friend, Ross Hutchins. I think he did one of the runs with it. I seen Ross on Friday, and I said that I was chatting to you, and you had good things to say. And he said he might be doing this thing. I'll let him tell you about it.
Yeah.
But
so, he's been great, Ross. So we got some pretty funky design coming. So hopefully we'll start seeing them. A few key places to start with, and with a bit of luck, we might establish a little community. But it's not necessarily about the bench; it's around the concept of
exactly.
Having a conversation and the real conversation. How many times you speak to your mates and how are you? Yeah, good mate. You?
Yeah.
Well, not really. And we do the dance. We as blokes do, and we wrap it up as banter and stuff. But deep down, we all crave.
I think I was one of the masters of that. In my darkest days, of which I've had a couple. Since then, and then I went and asked for help from a few people because things happened, and I feel now I don't care. Today's not about me, but one day I'll tell that story. And when I tell people, because today I had a message off a girl I've been friends with for a couple of years, and she texted me today out of the blue. Can you chat? Am I okay to vent at you? I need a bit of life advice and a bit of a fucking pick me up. Like, can we? Have you got 5 minutes? And I was like, yeah, of course. If I made my day that someone felt that they could come to me to go, I'm having all this shit at the moment with life, work, whatever it is. Can you listen to me for 5 minutes? And I was like, yeah, of course I can, not a problem. Because people have done it for me when I've been in need. Because like you, that armour's on, and I'm, king of the social, leading the party, leading the swig, whatever it might be, loud, singing songs. I'd go home and I'd be empty. Like, no one texts me or whatever it might be at that particular time. They just saw me on Instagram or whatever, on the piss, having a laugh in the middle of everyone. Yeah, everyone then went home to their relationships, families, whatever it might be, happy as Larry because Mikey's performed for them. And I'd be sat there going, what the fuck am I doing? Like, who am I doing this for? Because I'm not doing it for me.
Yeah, exactly, mate. And I think that's a lived experience for many, and it's sort of realising that. I like, obviously, activity, sport, whatever you want to call it, is my vehicle to it,
Yeah.
And I appreciate there's other ways to do it, and I've got friends who do it through the arts and the like as well. But sport's mine, and I find activity in sport, and it can be anything from, I've done some charity treks in Snowdonia. There's something about activity or that belonging that just facilitates the real conversation, And I've had people open up to me about stuff that, they would never to anyone else. It's not, it's the environment, it's the being present, and it's the fact that quite often it's reaching out to someone who's not in your circle, so you don't feel judged. You don't feel that it's safe, and the like as well. And that's really important. And it's trying to encourage people to do that. I don't think there is a formula for it or a right way to do it. It's just a case of, you have to explore, and the toughest conversation is always the first one, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, asking for help. I think that was my, probably 3, 4, 5, 6 years maybe, until it got to a point where it couldn't go on because it was affecting other things in my life. So I asked for help, and from that day, 3 years ago, was it 3 or 4 years ago in October, things changed for me for the better, but it took a lot of downhill for me to finally pluck the courage and go, I'm in a bit of trouble here, can you help? And
I found at that moment, Mikey, that you take control of it rather than it controls you, So albeit you've, it can take some time to wrestle a bear, and we all go on a different journey, but actually at that moment in time is the moment you sort of stand there in the storm and you say, do you know what? And you sort of, enough's enough, and you start your slow journey back then.
I think for me, like, I was always, happy to self-destruct, but then the one particular time it was going to impact my daughter, and she doesn't deserve that. And, you know, ever since then, you know, I make mistakes. I've made plenty of them. And, you know, if you were to ask 10 people, if you were to ask 10 people who know me about me, you'd get 10 different reactions, you know, based on what they've seen of me at that particular time or where they've met me or Instagram or whatever. But now, you know, especially this year and the last couple of years, it's all been about how can I try and be the best role model and best dad, best person I can be to the people that I want around in my circle.
It's just the best version of you, mate. You know, there is no
Fucking hell.
and you don't compare it to anyone else. And again, I use, like as I said, I use sport and activity as a good vehicle to tell these stories. And you know, a race day or an event day or a match day is just about being the best version of you at that moment in time. You know, yes, you could be better in the long term. Yes, you might have been better last week, and yes, you might be better next week. But actually, at that moment in time, if you give it your best shot, you know, with what you've got, that's all anyone can ever ask. You know.
I think some people get into, you know, with social media nowadays, obviously it's so prevalent, Instagram, whatever it might be. And like, I suppose I'm just at the wrong end of being, you know, cool on Instagram. You know, I'm 35 now, so I'm not on TikTok or anything like that. So in some ways, it's the right end for me. But people are always comparing, like you just said, comparing themselves to others and other people's highlight reels. And I used to do that. I used to be like, fucking look at that person there doing this. This is the way I should live. This is what I should do or whatever. I suppose now I just post what I'm doing. It's still a bit of a highlight reel, but it's, you know, I'm a bigger lad, but if I'm in the gym and my drum's out, I don't care anymore. Like, I've got a missus, I've got a daughter, like, I live a decent life. It could be better, but it could be 20 times worse as well. Like, it's about being content for me now, and I'm content in my own skin and the journey I'm trying to carve out, if that makes sense.
Totally, mate. You know, we've all been driven at various stages, and I probably still now to say we're all driven by likes, aren't we? As they say, and different things. You know, that's the ego in you. You know, we've all got one. You know, and it's not necessarily a bad thing because an ego can be really good given the right situation. You know, and I'm fiercely selfish. You know, I'm highly self-aware, and it can be one of my strongest traits, and it can be a real bastard to live with as well. You know, but it's me, you know, and you know, we've only got one go at this as well, you know, and I want to live my life for me and for no one else, you know.
No, I understand. I mean, I'd love to chat about your rugby journey, I suppose, where, you know, 99% of people will probably know you from, you know, that fat kid from Newport, as you said earlier. I wouldn't have said that. You're bigger than me, but you know, that.
You froze then. I lost you at a technical issue. Go on.
Oh no. I was going to say 99% of people know you wearing that red jersey and the Ospreys jersey and coming through. Some might remember the Celtic Warriors. I was doing a bit of research. I read that you were a goalkeeper as a youngster and very good at that.
Yeah, so probably had actually, it's an interesting journey into pro sport, but it's probably a well-trodden one. I was probably a bit before my time. I think we'll see more and more of it now as the years go by. So by that, I mean, I sort of had a mixed sport entry into rugby, you know. Tennis was actually my first passion, way before tennis was cool, you know. We're talking sort of late 80s, early 90s, you know, when it was really expensive for a working class family from Newport, you know. And but I happened to be pretty good at that, and I was having lessons before school and after school and all that, and you know, but again, that is a really cutthroat individual sport, you know, and I was never going to sort of progress on that. And then at sort of early teens, I took up football because that's what everyone else was doing, and I was a goalkeeper, and then I was with Bristol City for a couple of years, or for a few years actually, and then it was back in the days of the YTS. Then, you know, and all that almost before the academies, if you like, the early academy, and then I got to 16, and I remember going over to Ashton Gate and, you know, having a conversation with saying, look, we're not gonna contract you, you know, we maybe like you to stay in and around, and all this. And, you know, I was at 16, girls, beer, you know, giving up weekends and travel and all that type of stuff, and the strain on the family. So I decided to take up rugby, and I lived in Newport at the time, High Cross, and Risca Rugby Club was sort of 10 minutes up the road, and it was where all the youth played. So I started playing youth rugby there, and it sort of never really looked back. Went from there to Newport to Uwick, which I had 3 years at Uwick, which was probably the best, most enjoyable 3 years of my career for lots of reasons. The social was one, but I worked with Kevin Bauer in there as well. Who was a wonderful coach, and more importantly, a great man. Had a great outlook on the game, and taught me an awful lot about the game and everything that goes with it, and leadership and the character required, really, if you like to go on and play pro rugby. And from there, I went straight into pro rugby out of Uwick. And then I'd probably accelerated a bit, really. Within sort of 3 years of finishing Uwick, I played 3 tests for the British Lions. So
that's my first real memory of you. See, I remember you scored a try. So was it Scotland? Was it that year or the year before?
Yeah. So I got capped in the autumn of 2004 against South Africa. Was my first
yeah.
We lost. And I remember one of the headlines in the paper was not cut out to play at this level, and it was a picture of me, after my first cap, which is a classic sort of Welsh rugby media. But
yeah.
And then the following year, obviously we had that success. We won a Grand Slam, in 2005.
Unbelievable, yeah.
To this day it's interesting. We got short memories in Wales, right? And people say, what's the highlight of the last 3 years? And I say, being in England 30 points to 3 and different things like that. In my opinion, and it is only my opinion, the day we beat Ireland in 2005 in Cardiff, when I think they reckon 250,000 people had come to Cardiff just to watch the game.
Yeah.
In the street, in the pub.
Yeah.
You've never seen anything like it. I'm not sure we ever will. Only Wales winning a Grand Slam, or a guy in a yellow jersey on a bike, can bring Cardiff to a standstill.
Yeah.
Prince of Wales can't. Royalty can't. You put any parade on, any Christmas, anything, they can't do it. The only thing that can do it is those two things, and that was magic. But again, I was in an Ospreys team. We won the league that year, playing, like I said, with my mates, early 20s. Life was pretty good then, And again, like I said, I went on the Lions tour with sort of no preconceived ideas, if you like. I just went with the freedom to play.
Is that where so that Lions tour, my memory, I remember you scored a try. I want to say it was the midweek game before the test.
Yeah, it was 10 days. It was against Otago 10 days before the first.
And so that's my first proper memory of you, because coming from England, I was always football growing up, and then started playing rugby a bit later, like you. Obviously nowhere near as good. And, I was your bandwagon. I kind of remember 99 and Yanni De Beer kicking those drop goals, but then I don't remember anything in between that until 2002, maybe, when England were going to the Southern Hemisphere and winning. So then I'm on the bandwagon then, and obviously Johnny, and it goes through 2003, and it comes to the next Lions, and I don't know if it's arrogance or ignorance or whatever, but my knowledge of rugby outside of England wasn't particularly great. So I didn't know lots of, you knew Neil Jenkins was or whatever, but you didn't know lots of the Welsh players or whatever. But I remember that Lions tour, and I was like, who the hell is that guy? Because you weren't originally on the tour, were you? It was Simon Taylor, who I remember, the Scottish number 8, you've been playing for years, like brilliant, and you've come on and just gone, fuck this shit, I'm going to tear up here.
Well, I was out in North America and Canada with Wales on tour, which was the best trip I've ever been on. So we won the Grand Slam in 2005.
A few people have said that.
We got a summer tour to North America and Canada. And the first 3 days of the trip we spent in New York, which was amazing. So we won a lot of rugby all training then, I can tell you. It was a right celebration of 2005. But anyway, we'd beaten America, and the day before we were due to play Canada, and the phone went, and it was Alan Phillips, our team manager, who said, "Oh, Ryan, you won't be training today. Pack your bag. You're off to the Lions." Which I thought, he's taking the piss. So I put the phone down, and then he rang back. He said, "No, serious." He said, "You've got to be at LAX to fly out to Auckland in like 2 hours or whatever it was. And I was like, right, okay. So, bear in mind now it's 30 degrees in North America in summer, flying down to winter in the southern hemisphere. And so I arrived in Auckland in early hours of the morning, and the team weren't there. They were arriving later that day. So they took me to the team hotel and in the Hilton on the quay in Auckland, and I've checked in early hours of the morning.
Yeah.
Just a wash bag and a pair of boardies and not a lot else. And I remember getting up in the morning, opening the curtains, sort of level 4, level 5 of the Hilton Hotel, quayside. Open the curtains and the shutters like that. No clothes on, as you do when you sleep. And I'm there stood there in all my glory, and about 10 yards away on a cruise ship is probably about 2,500 Lions supporters all looking at me in all my glory. But
Auckland Marina's class as well. So my parents live out in Auckland. I was out there for the 2011 World Cup, and one night we ended up back in, I want to say it was the Marriott maybe, with a few friends. A few friends one night, and it's a good place down there.
Yeah, it's brilliant, and the vibe's cool. I mean, and they love rugby, like
of course.
But I met up with the team then, and Clive Wood was in charge, and Simon Taylor had been injured. Richard Hill had a bump, I think, and Michael Owen was due to start against Otago, and Clive said, you be on the bench, and then Michael's wife went into labour, and he decided to fly home.
Yeah.
Clive said, well, look, we'd love you to start on Wednesday, which was 10 days before the first test, and I said, well, okay, we were playing Otago away. And sort of one try and a man match later, I found myself on the bench for the first test 10 days later. So, and again, I played in all 3 tests, and unfortunately didn't beat the All Blacks like the other 12 times I played them. But as experiences go, and as a sort of catalyst the rest of my career, it was an amazing one. But I had the next few years was sort of marred, if you like, with injuries. I had some pretty significant shoulder ops, which again, with no disrespect to anyone involved, the level of care probably wasn't what it is now, and everything that goes with it. And likewise, I probably didn't pay. I got to take some ownership for myself. I probably didn't pay as much service as I should have. My attitude probably wasn't what it is now, and everything that goes with it. And
how do you find that though when you're early 20s? You start playing professional rugby early 2000s. Within a couple of years, you're on a Lions tour, which is I would assume is the pinnacle of any rugby player's career. How do you stay grounded and stay humble and not let the attention and the media, especially in Wales, where this goldfish bowl of media, you can just get lost in it if you wanted to.
Yeah. Sorry, I was going to say, sadly, there probably were times that there was, there probably was on reflection. I'm quite fortunate. I've got a great circle of friends, or my uni friends still to this day, there, and have been hugely supportive of me. Again, I was probably fortunate. It was before this era of social media and the like as well, so we got away with an awful lot. Culturally, I think society was slightly different. I would love to play now, and with everything that goes with it, and not necessarily the game. The game frightens the life out of me and stuff. But I just think the opportunities that the boys have, and the education support is probably finally caught up with the game.
Yeah.
I think there was large parts of my career was caught between 2 stools, really, of that sort of amateur era and the pro era.
Yeah.
It was just sort of, the game was just leveling out, I suppose. So again, I was probably fortunate that I played within the Ospreys. Was a pretty unique team. We were probably all at a similar stage in our careers as well. So
you're unbelievable at that time as well.
Yeah, we were all finding our feet together, which is great, But so I don't think I think it's hard. I think some of it was luck more than judgment, And I think there's several things in there I'd do differently if I went back. But that's life, I wouldn't change any of it really, because that's my story, that's my journey, and
Yeah.
where I am now because of it. So probably the only major thing in there was around. They told me to retire in 2007, so I had my second shoulder op.
Yeah.
And I remember waking up in the hospital and sort of everyone, family around me were sort of upset because the surgeon saying to me, I think that's it. We've never seen anything like it, and it's pretty bad. But I think it's moments like that the public don't see. Because
Yeah, of
again,
course.
we all form an opinion about people around the bits we do see. What you don't see is the years of sacrifice and missing out, which is stuff that haunts me now. I've lost as many friends as I've retained because I haven't been to weddings, christenings. I haven't developed socially. I haven't got shared experiences. I haven't got a skill set that is hugely transferable. I haven't got a profession, and that's all okay. That was all my choice, and at any point I could have chosen to do something else. So I own all the decisions. I own all the sacrifices I make. But within it, there are certain things that define me, and what that taught me, and what I still carry with me now is the essence of we're all capable of so much more. They told me I couldn't, and they told me I shouldn't, but I could and I can, and I will, and that is something that call it arrogance, call it ignorance, call it stupidity, call it whatever you will. If my natural disposition now is I can and I will, and and I'll show and I'll do, and and I'm 15 years after the fact almost still trying to do that.
Is that the sort of captain that you were then as well? Because in terms of success, Ospreys obviously won a heap of stuff with Wales, 3 Grand Slams and a couple of championships as well, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
It's easy when you're winning. It's easier when you're winning. But it's like you just said, people don't see the hard work that goes into it. Nowadays.
I am definitely the greatest captain of our generation.
Take it.
Joy.
But at the time, you were the longest reigning captain as well, weren't you? Before Sam.
I was until he came along. I'm over it though. It's fine.
But like you said, people don't see the hard work. I've spoken to some of the boys on the podcast before, and they might be mid-20s or whatever. They play a game, they go out for a couple of beers in Cardiff after, and as we've said, Cardiff on match day is something I'm fortunate. I've been all over the world and watched rugby, New Zealand, whatever. It's nothing like Cardiff on match day when, like you said, Grand Slam is on and they can't go out and just enjoy themselves now because everyone's got a phone and everyone wants to catch that one particular moment of one of the boys kissing a girl or chatting in her ear or necking a drink or someone's had a few too many pints, gives it a big one to the boys because the boy goes, fuck off, leave me alone with my mates, just fucking enjoy your night, see you later. That's in Wales Online the next day. And it's like, well, he's been antagonised and they can't relax now, I suppose. And
yeah, and you be careful here around the sort of the almost the woe is me. The boys are really well recompensed, and with it comes with a certain level of obligation, if you like. We're earning the right to wear that jersey, and everything that therefore stands for comes with an element of sacrifice, and we know that, and you'd be really naive if you didn't in this day and age. Let's be fair, and that doesn't mean to say the boys shouldn't, and when it's appropriate and when it's safe to do so, boys need to find their own way to let their hair down and stuff. The only thing I would and would tell my younger self is, sadly, where you are in your career right now, you've got more to lose than the majority of other people. So just don't put yourself in a position where you can let yourself or your friends or your team down, because it's the old adage, isn't it? That a photo's taken out of context. You could be leaning in to say to someone, do you know where the toilet is? And it can look and there's no time stamp on it as well. I've seen that done. Look what the boys doing last night, knowing full well it was 2 weeks ago on a Friday night and there's no game. So it's just not leaving yourself vulnerable. But there's an element in there as well around affording yourself to make those mistakes. There's a great learning in there. And
of course.
Some of the best sports people in the world. But again, it's it's taking ownership for it. You know, if you are going to go out and you are going to do stupid things, you've got to own the repercussions of it. You know, and if you're prepared to do that, and like my old man always used to say to me, he said, no matter what happens, you can do whatever you want, but as long as you don't mind your nan reading it on the front page of the paper in the morning, you won't go far wrong. You know, so he's probably right there.
As long as you can look her in the eye the next day.
Right, yeah.
I love that. Well, speaking your, you know, you obviously, you missed out on those 2009, the Lions. You called up, but you taken a knock?
Yeah, well, again, it's quite topical now, actually, because I'm sort of reliving it around. I got knocked out consecutive weeks in North America again, actually, against Canada and then subsequently against the USA. And I hadn't made the original tour squad of 2009, and I flew down to Cape Town to join up with the team, only to be, well, in less than 24 hours, have a brain scan and be sent home because I was deemed not fit to play.
Did you feel fit?
Pardon?
Did you feel fit?
Yeah, but in hindsight, talking to people, you know, they tell me that, you know, my memory was poor, slurring my words, you know, and things like that, you know, which is, would I have played 100%? You know, you know, did I notice anything too untoward? No, didn't, you know, and undoubtedly it was the right thing to do, you know, but again, it was, you know, if I hadn't had the brain scan, I probably would have ended up on the field, I suppose. But, you know, again, it's all hindsight, and again, they're lows as well, you know, things like that. But again, it makes for a great story, and it's again, I don't regret it. It's just my journey, you know. So yeah, but so technically, I've been on 2 Lions tours, albeit the second one was a lunch in Cape Town. That was
it. 48 hours home again, back in on the sofa.
Well, the funniest bit of that story is I was on the same sodding plane home that I'd flown out on with the same sodding staff.
Oh, no, that's embarrassing, mate.
It was embarrassing, yeah, but I did have my money's worth of JD on the upper deck on the way home.
Class, I love that. What's like, you know, all the success we've spoken about, the lows, the highs that come with the success. You know, even like the World Cup. You know, 2011, you were so that close to getting to that final, and
that was Sam Warburton's fault as well.
But again, like is it Al Pacino in any given something? It is a game of inches. I know it's so cliche, but you know, you flip a coin and that could be you in the final, and New Zealand in that final, and Wales could have been world champs. I know you can't harbour on those things, but you know, people don't see the fallout from when those things happen. So yeah, it's great you won a few Grand Slams, unbelievable. But then how you like pick yourself up from those lows as well, like
sporting careers are largely defined by resilience as much as sort of talent, you know, and that comes in many forms. So that can be in a moment in time, in a moment on a pitch. It can be from week to week, season to season, you know, and the story goes on. That stands out for 2 reasons, really. That 2011 World Cup is probably a massive, well, it is an enormous career highlight for me. You know, it was, you know, I haven't had the success like that in my career. I'd never gone to a Rugby World Cup, so I missed out in 07.
Yeah.
You know, I had my first shoulder op. You know, in 2011 seemed a million miles away then, you know.
07 was probably a decent one to miss, was it?
Well, that's why it didn't go well, wouldn't it? You know, I don't like to tell everyone either, but no, so, you know, and I knew, you know, I pretty well knew that if I didn't make the 2011 World Cup, that would probably be my World Cup dream gone, you know, and to go and represent Wales on a genuine world stage is the best bit. And the fact it was a Rugby World Cup in arguably the greatest rugby nation in the world is just made.
I was there, mate. Unbelievable. I was there against Namibia when Mellon scored that fucking try. I was there. Was it the Fiji game and Samoa? I think I was there for the group games.
Yeah,
it was unbelievable.
It was incredible. You know, the only way I can describe people is if the furore would be the same as if the Football World Cup was held in Britain, probably. You know, the scrutiny teams were under. You know, just the duration of time we were away. experiences we had. You know, it was just magic, you know. And with it, we went on a journey to the semi-final, and we genuinely believed we could win the World Cup, you know.
Yeah.
And we were everyone's second favourite team, you know, and we were
So
playing so well. And
I went out with Welsh lad from Pencoed, Gareth Cooper's cousin, and obviously being from England, you see lots of English people out there, and I met a couple of mates by chance that in Hamilton and a couple of other places, and it got to the point where I was, where are you from? I live in Cardiff, because it was easier to say that and then have that affiliation with Wales, because I'd be accepted, rather than say I was English, because they were like the people I met, and this isn't a representation of English fans. I've lots of probably brilliant. They were dickheads, the ones that I did meet out there. And the New Zealanders, we stayed with Warren Gatland's wife. Her name escapes me. Is it
Trudy.
Yeah. She organised for Welsh people in Hamilton for the game to stay with New Zealand families.
Yeah.
So we ended up staying with this family, and I'm still friends with their son now, who's a couple of years younger than me, and still speak to them. And their uncle could name you everything about the Welsh team in the 70s. He knew he knew everything about Wales, and all he wanted to do was chat with Welsh people about rugby and the similarities between the two countries. And they are like two peas in the same pod, other sides of the world.
Yeah, that's right. The New Zealand people talk a lot about, sort of 70s rugby in Wales being a bit of a catalyst for rugby there, and they romance over people of that generation, which is magic, and that was echoed from the northernmost point of the North Island right to the southernmost point of the Southern Island. It really was a sort of wonderful experience, and to have done that was magic. But then to deal with the disappointment of that, having lost that semi, and then to still be out there for a week to play in a dead rubber of a third, fourth playoff. Emotionally tough. But like I said, the one thing sport does teach you fairly on is that resilience around, and it's something that I think a lot of society, business can learn and should learn, is around this ability to sort of do, review, learn, move on. It's that sort of do, review, do. And you can't afford a hangover from 1 week to week, because, we came back and, crikey, within a couple of months, we were into Six Nations again. And memories are pretty short, once the World Cup's done and dusted, as soon as our first ball kicks off in a Six Nations, the only thing the Welsh public are interested in are you beating England first and foremost, and then and then the other four nations.
And then another Grand Slam then as well.
Well, yeah,
so that must soften the blow a little bit.
Well, it certainly bought us a bit more time anyway.
Yeah, of course. Now, I want to just before we finish up, I know I've taken a bit of your time here. I just want to ask you a couple of things around what do you make of the team at the moment and kind of the direction they're going in, and where Wales are now as a team. Loads of youngsters coming through. But if you were to watch the Welsh public on Twitter, they're all fucking dog shit.
Yeah, and again, it's not a great litmus test, is it? We live in this world of sensationalism, and everything's to the extreme, isn't it? So you're either amazing or crap. There's nothing in Welsh rugby. It's a difficult time. I don't actually know where we are, if I'm honest. I think, and I don't think we will till we get through this Six Nations. So we're obviously seeing the emergence of some new talent, which is great. You need that. I think it's easy to see we're an aging team, particularly in certain positions, and you worry that you saw 2-3 weeks ago that Tips had a stormer, Toby played well, Alan Wynne, John Foxey, the big performances by seasoned pros, all of whom are at the twilight of their career, one injury away from, and you worry that. So, and it's all well and good. Again, playing games like that with no crowd in a, what was it, a fifth, sixth or playoff or whatever it was, and again, it's around performing on the big stage. What we can't do is keep hiding behind, focusing on the World Cup. Yeah, the World Cup's really important, and it's sort of 3 years away, 2 years away now, is it? And lose sight of the Six Nations is around the corner, which is a really big part of our calendar, And again, I think success is often built on success. It's very hard. It would be very hard, I think, to go to a World Cup on the back of relatively little success, and then performing, because you have to take confidence from somewhere. You've got to be able to back it up. World Cup's unique in its duration. If you think of Six Nations format, 2 on, 1 off, 1 on, 1 off, 2 on. You don't have that luxury in World Cups. You've got to win back. Was it 7 games back to back?
Yeah.
You either win a Rugby World Cup. So it's a tough ask. So I don't know. We've definitely got talent. We've definitely got potential. We would love sustained period of domestic success. That would really help, I think.
Yeah.
And emotionally, you draw confidence from there. I think you find your form. You don't have to worry. If you've got a squad that's functioning properly domestically, you're carrying each other. So, you can take a relative rest now and then. So, I think there's lots of things at play, and I'm not sure where they're going to settle just yet. But again, I would definitely say that there's hope there. I think there's talent. I definitely think there's opportunity for people to go and grasp it. That'll be the really interesting thing. I'm intrigued to see now, coming Six Nations, who really puts their hand, who gets an opportunity and really grabs it.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm not sure we've seen. Lots of people have had opportunities.
Yeah, especially with the Lions obviously coming up after as well. There's an opportunity to really put your hand up.
I haven't really seen anyone who's gone, do you know what, I'm here and I'm here to stay, and I'm just yet. But no, it's, again, Wayne will know an awful lot from that. I think
of course,
settled the front row because set piece was creaking a bit, wasn't there? I think some people have possibly played themselves out the team rather than others played them in. But yes, it's an interesting time. It's not quite where we'd hope we'd be, if I'm honest, at the end.
Then I think sometimes they can be a little bit a victim of their own success. Obviously, of the last 10, 15 years, Wales has seen success, and obviously the expectations now are much bigger. So, scraping a win isn't good enough anymore. You've got to win by 4 tries and bonus points and catflaps and fucking all the other shit that comes with it.
It made me laugh, obviously out and about a lot, and an awful lot of people would have an opinion around the way Gats had the Welsh team play, and the style, and Gatland ball as it was called, and but what people don't realise is we got to sort of consecutive World Cup semis, and we were genuinely competitive in any fixture we went into. We were fiercely tough to beat. We won 4 championships when he was here. We got short memories now. That wasn't the fact we were winning. It was the manner in which we win wasn't good enough, which is very Welsh, isn't it? Let's be fair.
Of course, always. Can I ask why you've left the WRU and what happened there, or is that not to be spoken about? I won't be offended, and it's completely up to you. Obviously, you haven't been there for a good while, administration side.
So I had nigh on 5 really enjoyable years there, and I was very fortunate that I was able, I ran the community side of the game for just under 3, and then I came across in the performance side. Obviously we all know that sport in particular is at a really tough time, and what with the chief exec leaving, there was an opportunity for me to go and explore some other things, and given where I am in my life and different things, it was an opportunity that I hadn't previously had, and I decided that it wasn't right for me anymore, and there's nothing sort of more or less to it than that, really.
Oh, fair play. I've got 3 questions and we're done. I'll let you go and have your tea or whatever it is that you're up to now. What 2 questions in one, really. What is your proudest moment, and what has rugby given you?
Oh, crikey. Proudest moment. This is really difficult. Like,
if I had to push you for that one time, either on the pitch, off the pitch, where you look back and just go, "Fuck, that's class. That's the one." Like,
can I have three?
Yeah, mate. It's your podcast.
Yeah, it's difficult because they're for different reasons, mate. You know, like so. I've got standout memories, right? So I never forget driving past Pyle on the M4, round the bend, and my phone's gone. And it's Warren Gatlin, you know, I've never spoken to before. At the end of in December 2007, offering me the captaincy for the Welsh team for a week. You know, then that's a phone call that I remember putting the phone. It was a very short conversation because the answer was yes. And I remember phoning, you know, my old man and my mum and dad, you know, hollering down the phone, and my old man in tears and stuff, you know. So that's a wonderful memory. I remember vividly walking down the tunnel first as well as captain, you know, into the Newport stadium of 74,000 people, and it's noisy and it's colourful and your senses are on fire, you know. And it's not, you know, things like that you can't replicate. I think that the thing you have to explain to people who've been fortunate to have done things like that is you can't spend the rest of your life trying to replicate it because you'll never do it. You know, you can find different stuff that give you a similar buzz, you know, which, you know, there are a million and one things you can do, and that's what I do spend my time doing now. It's not to replace it, it's just to find something equivalent. The standoff against the hacker in 2008 was just...
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Just an amazing bit of theatre, you know, like, and when it's all said and done, sports entertainment, you know, and for that 30 seconds, which felt like a lifetime, you know, all eyes were on those 30 fellas in the middle of a pit. You know, that world-class entertainment was magic.
I'm sure it might be Cooper or someone I spoke to, and they were like, "I fucking shit myself, mate."
Yeah, you know, it was daunting, it was intimidating, we were nervous, you're anxious, it was all those emotions rolled into one, you know. You know, playing for the Lions selfishly is magic, you know, and all the athletes go with it. You know, standing in the Millennium Stadium having won silverware is magic, you know. And I've got a load of off-field memories. So choosing one is really, really difficult, you know, all for you know, different reasons. So depending what mood I'm in on what day or who's asking the question, there's 1,001 answers to that, you know. And I sort of I would really challenge someone who could pick one, if I'm honest, you know. You know?
I love the fact that you're still smiling because of the memories it's given you, but having listened to you for the last hour and a bit, it's not defining your future, if that makes sense. Like, you're not reliant on that to give you something else in the future. You know, you're going to try and carve your own career, whatever that might be, your own charity challenges, your own physical and mental challenges, and you're going to go and do that on your own as Ryan Jones, the person, not Ryan Jones, the captain, the number 8, the winner, but just Ryan Jones, authentic, open, honest.
Because that's all I am, you know. When it's all said and done, like I said, it's all gone now, you know, and I'm left with a plastic crate with some jerseys left, a couple of grogs and a couple of medals, but, you know, and a bucket full of memories, and again, the person who I am and the body I've got, you know, and that's it, you know. So that's what rugby gave me a wonderful head start in life, you know, and it's given me my journey, you know. It's not the same as anyone else's, and, you know, and it's given me a tool set which I've got to try and apply to my future life, you know. I'm going to do that the best way I can. I wouldn't swap a day of it. I wouldn't swap a match of it. I wouldn't swap an injury of it. I wouldn't change a single piece of it. You know, I've had a wonderful, wonderful time, and rugby's been amazing to sort of me and my family, you know. But again, it's shaped me, but it doesn't define me either, you know. And I want to be the best at whatever it is I decide to do next now.
I love that, mate. I love your mindset. It's been genuinely a pleasure chatting to you for the last hour and a bit. You know, last week we spoke to Ollie Phillips, and very similar. He said about, obviously you phoned him, and that's how he got involved. But very similar mindsets in that you did it, it happened, but there's so much more to the world, and how are we going to try and tackle that the best way we can?
Yeah, that's right. Just leave it in a better place, mate, than when you came along.
I absolutely love that. Huge thanks to Tiny Rebel Brewery. They give us the beers at a little club just on that then, so they give us the beers every week. Huge thanks to everyone that subscribes, downloads, rates and reviews. Find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Catflap Chats. The biggest thank you to you, Ryan. I absolutely loved that. I didn't know what to expect having not spoken to you before, but I couldn't have asked for anything more open and honest, so I really appreciate that, pal.
Top man, mate. All the best with it. I expect my Tiny Rebels in the post. Is it ready for Christmas?
I'll get some. I'm down there Wednesday. Send me your address. I'll nip some over. Where can people find you and follow, your journey in the future and your charity challenges that you've been doing?
Instagram or Twitter, are the two best platforms for me. So I'm again Ryan Jones Online on Twitter, I think, and Ryan P Jones Online on Instagram. So I'm just that middle-aged hairy dad usually doing crazy stuff.
Hey, look, you're inspiring. You're inspiring some people, mate, and hopefully your kids look up and see, you're doing some special stuff. Both in your career and for charity as well. So thank you so much, pal. I genuinely, I really appreciate this.
Thanks, mate. Merry Christmas, everyone, and catch you soon. Stay safe.
Yeah, take care, pal. You look after yourself.
Cheers, mate. Ta-da. Bye-bye.
Thank you.